What's up, everyone? Hopefully everyone had a great Wednesday. This is Clarkey Reacts for the 14th of September 2022. If you're new here or you're not sure what Clarkey Reacts is, basically every single day I look at and put up the NRL news for you guys, and this is my reaction show where I break down that news, go into it a little bit more in depth, and ramble on a little bit more so than I have time on a TikTok video or on an Instagram or Facebook comment, for example. So welcome if you are new here. If you're returning, thank you for coming back. It's great to have your company yet again. And with that being said, guys, let's jump into all the news for today. Now, it's reported via the NRL website that Adam Elliott has succumbed to his pelvic injury and he is unlikely to play again this year. Really unfortunate. He has been superb for the Raiders this year. One of his best seasons that I can remember. Actually, I'll go as far to say it's been his best season within his NRL career. He's very important to what the Raiders do also. They are boosted by the return of Ryan Sutton, who returns earlier than expected from his hand surgery, and they will start Corey Harawira-Naera at lock, which I do like that as well. I think he's a superb player, but I think Adam Elliott is a really good point of difference in their side, and he will definitely be a big loss. Of course, that does mean he's also played his final game for the Raiders as he's headed to Newcastle next year, which I also think is a fantastic signing. The Knights have him, and there's another player coming as well, which escapes me. It is Jack Hetherington from the Bulldogs. So the Knights forward pack next year will be absolutely insane. Adam Elliott out for the Raiders. I think realistically they could probably still win the competition without him, but it will be very much harder to do so. So a huge loss, and it really sucks that this is how his Raiders career or Raiders season ends. It was a great comeback season for him. You know, at the start of the year, he was released by the Bulldogs. It was sort of, what does the future hold for Adam Elliott? And he has played himself into a long-term deal with the Knights and had a superb season and can hold his head high regardless. This one's via the Dragons website, guys. The Dragons today did confirm the signing of Jacob Lidell for the 2023 season. Again, if you are listening to Clarkey Reacts often or daily, then you would know my thoughts on this signing. It makes sense. He's not going to play at the Tigers next year as Apisai Kotosal will play 80 minutes there. That means he's stuck in reserve grade. For the Dragons, I really like the thought of him starting at number 9 and Jaden Sullivan at 14 on the bench. Of course, my halves would still be Talatau Amone and Ben Hunt in that instance, and fullback would be between Tyrell Sloan and Cody Ramsey. It gives the Dragons a lot more points to attack from and a lot more creativity than what they have currently with Andrew McCulloch, who is a great player, but he's a very old school dummy half where he'll give you really reliable passing and really great defense, whereas Jacob Lidell does have some speed. He does have a bit of a short kicking game. He can offer more in attack, and having Jaden Sullivan in that 14 jersey then means they might be able to re-sign him. Of course, we're hearing he's upset that Ben Hunt is re-signing. It's blocked his path or his perceived path to first grade, and he wants to go to the Bulldogs. So I think it's a win all across the board for the Tigers, who get a player off their books, for Lidell, who gets more NRL game time, and for the Dragons, who are boosted with his presence in their side next year. This one also via the NRL website, guys. Tom Dearden. He travelled 11.3 kilometres in finals week 1 in the Sharks victory, And I'm just looking at my phone now with my TikTok video uploading and realising I said their loss to the Sharks. Whoops. In their victory over the Sharks. And it's quite impressive, guys. Over 10 kilometres ran in an NRL game. He has broken the record for the longest distance ever travelled by an NRL player in a single game. I can't react or speak to this one too much because I'm not sure what the previous record was or what the average is even, but it does seem quite impressive considering those kilometres would be at a fast, heavy pace, and they're not one direction. It's up, back, which, as we know, if you've ever played footy before, you know how much harder those miles are as opposed to just running in a straight line. So really impressive stuff there from Tom Dearden. Shows his fitness as a 5'8". Not too much to react to here either, guys. This one's via Alicia Newton via the NRL website. Basically, Raiders prop Josh Papali'i, he has come out and he's told the Raiders CEO that you may as well throw the checkbook at Joseph Tarpany. He really wants Tarpany to re-sign with the Raiders. He says the club should throw whatever it takes at him to do so. And I completely agree within reason. It would be absolutely horrible for the Raiders to lose Tarpany and Adam Elliott in the same season. It would take a ton of punch out of their forward pack and could even be enough to see them drop to being a bottom 8 side, given they only just made the top 8 this year. They can't afford to lose him. I don't think they will. I believe they'll come to negotiations, and I believe he's about 28 years old, so hitting his prime in terms of props, fully developed now, fully experienced, international player, finals player, ready to come into his own and really be potentially the best prop in the NRL for the next five so years. Think back to like a Jesse Bromwich when he was 28, a Jared Warrior-Hargraves when he was 28. That was when these guys started to hit their primes, and they maintained that up until about 33, 34-ish for props, history would tell us. So the Raiders have really got to get the job done here. I think a 3 or 4 year deal would make sense. Anything longer than that, the club is at risk of injuries or form decrease. But a 3 or 4 year deal makes perfect sense, in my opinion there. This one's a really interesting one, guys. So Wide World of Sports reporter The Mole is reporting that the Knights are shopping Jake Clifford and Adam Clune to the Super League, and they're keen to get both of them off their books. I wouldn't be getting rid of both. I would be moving Adam Clune on potentially, but I also don't see the problem in the depth, given he wouldn't be on too much money, I wouldn't imagine. I can only think with the forward pack they currently have, they have absolutely botched their salary cap and can't afford a decent half unless they move Jake Clifford and Adam Clune on. I'd be trialling Tyson Gamble and Jake Clifford together before I made any decisions here. And if that doesn't work, I'd be trialling Adam Clune and Tyson Gamble. But the thing is for the Knights, and if Knights fans are listening to this, I can already sort of see where you're going to be coming from. You probably hear that and think, well, we're not going to play finals with that halves combo. It's simply not good enough. And I really don't have a refute to you. I'd probably have to agree. I could see why they need to move both of these guys on. But then it comes, I did a post today of the top 10 spine players that are available. Kurt Falls, maybe their best option for halfback. Outside of him, you're wasting your time signing anyone else that's currently available. So the Knights are in a really tough predicament. I don't think moving both of these guys on will solve it, but I can also see why they might be making that decision, and so I can't knock them too much for it. If they aren't able to move these two on, I still don't think the Knights are a final side next year, so ultimately I don't think it matters too much. If they do move them on, there's no one they can sign that would convince me that they're a final side next year either. James Tedesco, so we heard yesterday Latrell Mitchell come out and say that the Bunnies don't milk penalties, that's not what they do, and now we're hearing the exact same said by James Tedesco. He's basically saying that they refuse to lie down and milk penalties, it's not in the spirit of the game. He says that they're tough footy players, they go 100 miles per hour, but he does say, as part of that he goes on to basically say, as part of all of this, that the referee should be able to pick up a head injury, pick up a crusher, and the bunker shouldn't be intervening. Now, I think we can all agree with James there. As for whether the Roosters lie down for penalties, I think that's absolutely subjective. It appeared all players in that game were, but I don't know for certain. But I definitely agree with James that the referee should 9 times out of 10 be able to see if there was contact to the head worthy of a penalty. Because it's not only the referee, it's also the 2 touch judges. Another component of this, and I have sort of said this for a while, as you guys would know, we should still have 2 referees. The second referee should not have as much influence as they previously had, but I can't see how it would be a bad thing having a second referee behind the other team, picking up any little potential knock-ons missed, picking up any high contact that might have been missed, and just having an extra set of eyes there on the field. I don't view that as a bad thing. I'm sure a lot of you guys don't view that as a bad thing. The issue was the second referee was overstepping the mark. They weren't consistent with the other referee, and it made for a massive mess. But with 2 referees, come on, NRL, surely we're past the COVID cost cutting. Surely we can afford to pay 2 referees, and I've got no problem with it. 2 referees would definitely help this, in my opinion. I can't see why we don't. I can't agree with James 100% that the players weren't lying down for penalties. I thought they were. It's a subjective issue, but I do agree with him most definitely. The referees should pick it up. Here's some exciting news for Roosters fans in the NRLW. Jada Taylor who scored the 110-meter Origin try in for the Blues under-19 squad, is set to make her NRL debut this round in the NRLW. They said they wanted to basically wait and make sure that she was ready for that league. Her last footy game, I believe, was in the Tasha Gale competition, and she scored 4 tries. So we're talking about an athlete that is in very, 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 very good form. Very, very excited to see her debut. I think I've said very, very more than enough for this one, but I'm very, very excited for the future that she will have in the NRLW. The Rabbitohs are reportedly set to re-sign Jason Demetriou until the end of 2024. This was via the Daily Telegraph via journalist David Riccio. Good move by the Rabbitohs. I can't see why you'd move him on when in his first year they played finals. This just makes sense. There's not much to react to here, right, guys? So I think we'll move on pretty promptly. Great move there by the Bunnies. If you're Jason Demetriou, there's not too many other clubs that need a head coach that would be, really, really tempting to move on to. Maybe if the Storm didn't have Craig Bellamy or he was retiring and that position was open, you could apply for that. But there's nowhere else in the NRL I think he'd rather be right now. And there's no one else that could really take over from the Rabbitohs and do a better job right now. Via Zero Tackle, journalist Jack Blythe. This one was, the comments in this are via Gus Gould via World Water Sports. Bulldogs 5'8", Matt Burton. So he was scheduled for ankle surgery. However, he will delay that operation as he's reportedly been informed he has been selected for the Australian Kangaroos in the World Cup squad. I didn't have him in my Kangaroos 17, but I can see definitely why you would have him somewhere in your top 30 or however many players they're taking over. I can see why you'd have him in your squad. He would be the backup 14. He could be your backup centre. He could be your backup 5'8". He can cover a range of positions. And he's a very, very talented player. He could even contend for the 14 jersey. At the moment, my 14's Harry Grant. But it could be Nicho Hynes. It could be Matt Burton. I wouldn't mind either. Makes perfect sense that he's been selected in this World Cup squad. The ankle injury, if he can continue to play through, it is minor. I would say it's more of a cleanup or more of an elective. It might be hindering his performance, maybe 5-10%. But you still take Matt Burton with you to the World Cup. And what a huge year for Matt Burton in his first year as a Bulldog. Makes his Blues and Australia debut. Now, this one really surprised me. I would have told you that it was Trent Robinson or Craig Bellamy, but it is indeed Ricky Stewart that has the highest winning percentage in finals of all active coaches at 68.2%. Really, really impressive stuff there from Ricky. Obviously, there'd be a coach in his first year like Jason Demetriou, who's coached one game and has 100%. But the stats, I'm looking at it realistically, from a realistic lens, as was Fox Sports in this article. I think it was minimum 5 games coached. I'm going to check the Instagram comments right now live, and I bet you someone has commented that, saying something silly like that. Yeah, no, not yet. Okay, I was wrong. But I do believe someone will comment that eventually. So yeah, Ricky Stewart, highest win percentage. The other interesting component of all this is how he left the Parramatta Eels. There was reports today that he told one of the officials at the club to get effed and walked out of the club, burnt the bridge, will never be back there again. Of course, there was the infamous whiteboard incident where he brought in everyone within their top 30 and their name was on a whiteboard. Yes, maybe, no. And he pretty much, if you're on the no, he pretty much said, leave. We do not want you here at all. And said it publicly in front of the whole team. One of his assistant coaches at the time when he was with the Eels was Brad Arthur. He told him to get stuffed. Brad Arthur signed with Manly as an assistant coach subsequently. So, there's a bit of bad blood maybe in this one. Raiders versus Eels will be a fantastic matchup. I can't wait for it. The stats tell us the Raiders have the edge due to Ricky Stewart having the highest win percentage, but stats aren't everything, especially when we get into finals footy. That wraps up my reaction of all the news for today, guys. Thank you for tuning into Clarkey Reacts for the 14th of September. I am going away to Queensland tomorrow for the boxing, so it is very unlikely you will see Clarkey Reacts until probably next Monday. But I should be able to squeeze time in to do up all the news regardless, and I hope to see you there on my Facebook and Instagram. Maybe even TikTok. I might have time to squeeze that video in too. Alright guys, that's all for today. Thanks for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you in the future. Cheers.